Good evening. Welcome back to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. I want to thank Bree Sanders, our national news correspondent, and Susan Cummins for being here with us in the first hour with their book and book reviews and weird news of the United States. That's some weird stuff going on out there. Hey, got a quick announcement to make. This is pretty exciting. Come on out. Spend my birthday with me. I'm going to be out in Ocala, Florida, November 21st and 22nd at the Seven Sisters Inn. The event in Ghost Hunt, there's going to be a lot of fun there. We've got Patrick Burns from the television show Haunting Evidence will be there. Kristen Gartland from the TV show Ghost Hunters. I'll be there, and they just added Ghost Hunters International. Rob Demarest is going to be on hand. For event info and for tickets, you can go to sevensistershaunt.com. Again, spell it out, 7, S-E-V-E-N, sisters, S-I-S-T-E-R-S, haunt, HAUNT.com. We're going to have a great time out there investigating. And Tim, I heard about this, I watched the episode on Ghost Hunters, which is really well done, and it was definitely interesting. And then friends of ours from the Taps family who actually run an investigative group in Florida, and they run the Taps Paracon that takes place, and we'll be back again here in May. They invited me to come out here and see this place for myself because they were telling me how crazy it is. And I think we've got a bunch of EVPs locked and loaded for during the show.
Yep.
Good. So we got those in place. Our guests tonight are, as I just mentioned, Taps family members. We've got Nancy Planetta and we've got Brent Fair on the line with us. And they are from Espirit Paranormal, as I said, a Taps family team located in West Central Florida. They consist of 9 active members. The team has actively investigated the paranormal as a unit since 2004. They're equipped with the latest technology and paranormal investigation tools. The team has investigated many cases of the unexplained, currently in active status with over 7 separate investigations. The volunteers, all members of the team, give up every weekend to try to find answers on their quest to explain the unexplainable. Espirit proudly uses research and development to expand new equipment based off of similarities they find on different cases. Currently, they cover the areas of Sarasota, Bradenton, Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, Pasco, Hernando, and Marion counties. So please welcome to the Darkness on the Edge of Town, Nancy and Brent. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Hey, guys. How are you today?
Doing good. Doing good. Hey, we're excited to have you be here. We like to have people that can come on. And again, I'm going to make this mention. People are always reaching out to me. Dave, can you have our paranormal team on your radio show? How do we get that done? The way that's the best way to get to me is if you have a good story, a solid story of an investigation that you worked on or are currently working on, and you have some good EVPs to send us. They've got to be good, folks. Give me good stuff that we can actually hear online here. If you have pictures or video evidence that we can post up on our site, that'll help out. And then we'll always do a little pre-interview with you over the phone to make sure that you can speak. Unfortunately, we've had some people that we've, they send me these great stories and I get them on the phone, and Tim can attest to this. And I'm like, all right, so let's hear about this. You guys went out and you saw this house began levitating and breathing and eyes glowing in the walls. And they're like, yeah. And it was scary. Okay, good. Well, what, did you find out what it was? No. It was scary.
We didn't stay.
Yeah, so if you've got a good story, you can email them to me at dave@darknessradio.com. dave@darknessradio.com, and we will help present your team on our radio show that way. But Nancy and Brent, you guys came to me talking to me about the Seven Sisters. We'd seen it, of course, on the Ghost Hunters this season. And first of all, give us some background, can you, and tell me a little bit about the Seven Sisters Inn and the investigation and how you guys got involved in it.
Yeah, that would be more me. About 12 years ago, I was in a city in Florida called Casadega, which is outside of Orlando. Like going to Casadega because there's a pretty haunted history out there in itself. It's a very old, established, historic town. And had heard wind in one of the shops of a little inn in Ocala called the Seven Sisters, where somebody had stayed there and had some experiences. That caused me to visit it, and basically a 12-year love affair between myself and this inn. History of the inn is absolutely incredible. There are 2 Victorian houses which comprise of or consist of the inn. One is known as the Scott House, better well known as the Pink House, and the second one is the Rheinauer House, better well known as the Purple House. The Scott House was built in 1888, but before that house was built, it was a military triage during the Civil War.
Okay.
And pre-existing to that, it was actually what is better known as a boarding house for the trains, and it burned to the ground in the late 1850s. The land before those homes is actually the site of the Seminole Indian Wars and the massacre of Fort King, which...
So there's a lot of happiness surrounding this plot of land, was what I'm hearing.
I'm sorry?
There's a lot of happiness at this plot of land. Boy, this is just tragedy central out there, huh?
There's... Ocala, the way it's located in the state, is it's actually directly in the middle of the state. So it was an area where there was a lot of travel through. A lot of railroads came through that area to get from East Coast to West Coast. And it was a pivotal area as far as control went in the military and in regards to the nation flipping and flopping with different battles. The Seminole Indians, I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but they were the only tribe in the United States that did not surrender to military control. They never surrendered their rights. Mm-hmm. And most of that was as a result of the battle and massacre of Fort King in Ocala, Florida. So, again, you have a lot of history on the land there. The Reinauer House, which is the Purple House, was built in 1892. That house remained pretty consistently in one family. We do have records of a murder that took place in that house in the early 1940s. A man was stabbed at the top of the stairwell, fell down, and broke his neck on the base of the stairwell. The cause of death is they're not sure which one it was, but they know he was dead. It was also the site of course, the massacre. And interesting thing about the Reinauer is that the current owners of the inn imported almost every stick of furniture in that house. They have decorated all the rooms to different countries. These imports include huge mahogany armoires. Basically, they have shrine doors from a temple in Bali that are over 300 years old, hanging on the Egyptian room. Now, my team likes to refer to the Reinauer house as dysfunctional.
Okay.
It's the only way to put it.
Are you sure they weren't visiting my house, Nancy?
When you go in there, it's the air to the house is heavier than it is in the Scott house. So even the activity you get in there is a larger scale type of activity. We've heard fights in the hallway when there's nobody out there. This was witnessed by not only my team, it's written, each room has their own diary. Guests have been writing about this since they've been keeping diaries in 1996.
Oh, wow.
Kristen Gartland herself from Ghost Hunters spent the night in the Egyptian room and almost strangled me the next morning.
Yeah, I love this.
She heard footsteps all night and heard what she thought was a fight out in the hallway. So it's...
Now, I've seen you and Brent hang around each other. A fight out in the hallway is not such a rare thing with you two. Come on. Are you sure it wasn't just you two then hiding real quick?
But even Brent, who is, believe it or not, he's my skeptic on my team. He is my hardcore skeptic. He really has to see to believe in many ways. Mm-hmm. This place rocked his socks. He's had several experiences there now that he cannot explain. And actually, the first time it happened, he was so stunned he does not remember the entire drive home, which is almost 2 hours. And it was a broad daylight experience.
Wow.
And that was actually in the Scott house. We do refer to the Scott house as the fun house, usually because when we set up in those houses, you will start at between 9 and 10 p.m. formally investigating. Mm-hmm. In the Scott house, it's like it plays games with you. Every time we're there, we're up till 6:30 in the morning.
No
because
kidding.
Every time we try to shut it down and go to bed, something else will occur. So we're literally running, trying to catch our own tails all night.
Now, do you believe that the ghosts are there because they're the ghosts of the area, or are you dealing with residual hauntings or energy hauntings that are stuck to some of the stuff that they've shipped in from all over the world to decorate these rooms? I
think you have a mishmash of all of them.
Do you get foreign voices at all when you do your EVP work?
Yes, we've got voices. Well, we've got a male in both houses, different men. We've got a female that seems to be it likes the Scott house. We get a lot of her in the Scott house. We've got children that come in on the EVPs. We've got things that we can't really define where you can hear it in the background, but it's not clear enough to declare it an actual EVP, but we know the noise was not there. So it's difficult to state.
Right.
They had a very interesting experience up there this week where they found an arrowhead in front of one of the rooms that did not belong where it was at all.
So is it something that was there before, or it was just popped up?
Believe it or not, it was something that belonged to one of my investigators who spent Halloween up there with us. He had never removed it from his bag, and he was staying in the other house.
Ah.
That bag was in his room and stowed.
So
and
I think we call that, is it a porting, when things disappear from one place and appear in another, or is a porting just when things that had nothing to do with the location just start showing up? Do you know?
I thought a porting was when it's set down in one place and appears in another.
Yeah, that very well could be, yeah.
But like I said, that's not the... It's strange enough, they've also had, believe it or not, toothpicks that seem to manifest in the closet of the Sylvia room.
Oh my God, we're getting an EVP barking sensation over our headphones. Can you hear that?
Yeah, that would be my miniature Dash, and I think you met him at TAPSCon.
Yes, I did.
But like I said, lately the new thing that they're reporting to us is that when they open the door to the Sylvia closet in the Sylvia room, they're finding toothpicks that they can't trace to anything that anybody owns in the house. And these toothpicks, over the course of an evening, started changing in dimension and spelling out names. Now, I was not there personally to witness that, so I can't back that up. But I do know it really shook up the innkeeper.
Wow.
So
yeah, that'd shake me up too if my toothpick starts spelling out words.
You know what? And the weird thing is that they actually had housekeeping. The first time it happened, they had them gather the toothpicks together and get them out of the room. And then when we were up there for Halloween, one of the guests staying in the Sylvia room came down and said, "Hey, we opened our closet and basically we found toothpicks in the closet." Which the innkeeper's eyes kind of shot open. She's like, "Oh, no, that's not possible." And she ran up there, and sure enough, it was the same type of toothpick, and they were once again in the closet. And they changed. I will say that. Each time we went back into her room to check, they had changed. So, and she was keeping her room locked.
Well, we got to take a break. We'll come back and hear a bit more, and we'll have Brent chime in from the skeptical side of things here for us. So stay with us. Brent and Nancy will be back with more of you, and we'll be back with more Darkness Radio. Good evening. Welcome back to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. We'll be back with our guests here in a second. The Twilight Tour is coming to Minneapolis. You've read the books. You can't wait for the movie. So, do you want to meet the cast? Of course you do. Jacob, Victoria, and Laurent are coming to Minneapolis November 14th. Hot Topic at the Mall of America from 3 to 5 p.m. They're doing a signing and a Q&A at Hot Topic. To get an autograph, you must have a wristband. Get your wristband while supplies last when you buy the special Twilight Tour t-shirt at Hot Topic. They're available beginning Friday morning, the day of the event. You can visit www.mallofamerica.com for more details. You can also visit www.hottopic.com. Again, remember, purchase must be made in person at the Mall of America Hot Topic store on November 14th. Space will be very limited. Entry to signing with wristbands only. Purchase is limited to 2 wristbands per person. There are no cameras allowed. 1 autograph per person. So it's going to be a great time coming out to Hot Topic on November 14th to meet the cast of the new hit movie and book series, Twilight. You get to meet Jacob, Victoria, and Laurent from the book and movie series. So I hope that you'll join us out there. Right now, we're going to go back to our guest. On the line, we have Nancy and Brent Fair from Espirit out in Florida. And Brent, we wanted to talk to you now as more of the skeptic of the group doing the investigations. What were your thoughts when Nancy was telling you about the 7 sisters? And I'd like to know a little bit about what your thoughts were before you went in and how it affected you and what your thoughts were after.
Well, to be honest, Dave, I just took it I took it in stride as another haunted location. You know, I've been in several throughout my paranormal, career. I've been doing this for about 11 years, and you know, I've been in the old prisons and big castles and you name it. So when I was taken down to the 7 Sisters to check things out and kind of prepare for the event that we have coming up, I didn't treat it any differently than I did the other places. So, coming into it, I was the same old Brent Fair who, never really experiences anything, who doesn't, just take everything as, people tell me. And, I try to be very analytical and use some sort of logic, behind the things that people tell me to try and figure things out. And, before I walked into the 7 Sisters, definitely still that same person. But I tell you what, In all honesty, the place has kind of rekindled my my passion to go out there and investigate more, and definitely to hang out at the Seven Sisters as much as possible. After my experience at the Seven Sisters, definitely changed in some manner. Like Nancy was saying earlier before the break, I had the experience, and there was a time where I was driving home, and I couldn't remember part of the drive. It kept me up for a couple nights. And let me tell you, it wasn't a very drastic experience. It was just something that, without a doubt, absolutely 100% was paranormal. I did have an experience. I cannot explain it. And out of all the places that I've ever been in, the Seven Sisters is one of 3 places that I've ever been in that I can honestly say I believe is haunted. And, it certainly changed me a whole lot.
Now, you were able to actually acquire some weird EVPs on your investigations.
Right.
And we've got some from Nancy we'll play when we bring Nancy back on the line. But let's talk a little bit about this. Now, the first one we'll play, you have it labeled Seven Sisters Music. Give us a little bit of the background on this EVP that we're about to hear.
Sure. Basically, I think this one occurred around 2:30 or 2:45 a.m. Basically, what we had done was placed a wireless Bolin professional microphone up into Lottie's loft. That's a 3rd floor, very nice suite up at the very top of the Scott house. And we placed the microphone up there, vacated all of our investigators, and watched the wireless audio feed through Dolby Edition, the spectral wave format view. I like to watch it like that because you can see the frequencies as they embed onto the recording. And basically, we noticed some odd things going on at this particular, time of the recording. And upon playback, you can hear what sounds like to me and some other people as, either a ball bouncing or a heartbeat. And then faintly in the background, at certain points, you can hear plain as day music. It just, I can't really, if I had to pick a genre of the music, it sounds more like big band.
Okay.
Or some classical type music, but it's definitely a piece of music and what sounds to be like a heartbeat.
All right, well, Tim, go ahead. Let's fire that off. Wow. Yeah, now I could definitely hear the heartbeat. Tim, play it one more time. I want to see if I can clue in on the music. I guess I was listening for something a little bit more loud with the music. Let me hear it.
It's more at the rear.
See, now that actually sounds more like screams to me. I don't know, Tim, can you hear it too? Tim thinks it sounds like screams as well.
Yeah, it reminded me of the screams we had from hell the other week.
When my mother-in-law was in town?
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No, yeah, it almost sounds like mechanical, like metal on metal, that kind of screeching, screaming, or it sounds like voices screaming to us, Brent. I don't know.
Right, yeah, and you know what, I questioned it, up and down, and I went back through and kind of recapped everything during the capturing, and there was no TV on, no sort of recognizable ear interference that could have caused it, and that audio sample that you just played is 100% original. It's not processed, filtered, noise reduced, or anything like that. So what you're hearing is actual noise.
Well, that heartbeat is definitely loud and freaky just in itself, telltale heart style. All right, well, we've got one that says fire. What can you tell us about this?
Well, this one occurred in the room where Jason Hawes' flip-flop was discovered after a long period of searching. It's in the Scott house as well on the first floor.
Now explain for the listeners that missed it. What are you talking about with Jason's flip-flop vanishing?
Well, during the episode, Jason saw something at the top of the stairs in the Scott house. Him and Grant were both in the bottom of the stairs. Jay took off his flip-flops and placed them to the side of the steps, and you could see him go up the stairs while his flip-flops remained. And basically, after a bunch of searching, he came back down, and then he searched for a long time, and his flip-flop, one of the flip-flops were missing. And, you didn't get to see it all on the show because it's limited time, but the production team and, the TAPS crew and everybody searched for an hour and a half for the flip-flop, and it wound up in an isolated storage room in the middle of the floor. So This particular room that this fire EVP was captured at, it's just a room that's not used by the inn.
Okay.
And you'll hear Nancy on the audio sample asking, I believe she's asking, do you like what Bonnie's done to the house? And there's probably a brief pause of 5 seconds, and then a voice, we believe it says fire or something to that effect, but it's definitely a voice that doesn't belong.
All right, let's go ahead and hear this, Tim.
Do you like what Bonnie's done to the house?
Let me play that one more time again. It's right after, like you said, about 3-4 seconds. All of a sudden you hear the voice come through. It sounds like fire.
Right.
All right, go ahead.
Do you like what Bonnie's done to the house?
Very cool. It does have that sound of almost fire. Now, was that the room where a fire had taken place or anything that we can correlate that?
Actually, the fire didn't take place in that room, but the whole entire Scott house is not original to the property. There was a structure there before the Scott house or the Seven Sisters was even built that did burn to the ground in that very location.
All right, now the last one we have here before I have to take break is Brent Stairs Secure. What's the story behind this?
We were setting up in the club room, same house. It seems that all the audio samples come from that house for some reason. But we were setting up at the club room. This is the second floor, so this is 3 levels of audio samples that we're getting. Basically, we were talking amongst ourselves in the middle of an interactive EVP session, if you will. And at the very end of this recording, you're going to hear a very, very faint whisper. It sounds like a female voice to us, and it sounds like she's saying, "Brent, the stairs are secure." The stairs are secure part is very long and delayed and dragged on, but the beginning of it is, it sounds like Brent. It kind of gives me the willies to hear it because I've never had an EVP, state.
Call you by name? Okay.
Yeah, so...
Well, let's go ahead and play this one out, Tim.
See the gold bombs on that tree? Yeah. See that shiny light on the bottom of down here? Mm-hmm. It totally disappeared, and then came back.
Yeah, play it again for me, Tim. Can you boost the volume on that a little bit? It's as high as you got? Okay.
See the gold bombs on that tree? Yeah. See that shiny light on the bottom of down here? Mm-hmm. It totally disappeared, and then came back.
Yeah, I can hear something. I hear definitely Brent, and the rest of it is a little bit more on the distorted side. That's an interesting one. We have to take our break again, Brent. Stay tuned. Stay with us. Nancy, stay with us. We'll be back with more. We'll talk more about the Seven Sisters Inn right here on Darkness Radio. Good evening. Welcome back to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. Sitting across the board from me, Tim Dennis. We're talking this evening with TAP's family members about the very haunted Seven Sisters Inn out in Florida, Ocala, Florida, and we're going to be talking more with Nancy and Brent here in a few seconds. I do want to make a couple of quick mentions. Tim and I would love to meet you. Come on out and say hi to us. We're going to be at the 3rd annual Crypticon horror convention that takes place at the Radisson in Roseville, Minnesota. The guests have arrived. We've got some cool guests that are going to be there. John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, Kelly Maroney from Chopping Mall and from Night of the Comet and Fast Times at Ridgemont High will be there. Michael Berryman from The Hills Have Eyes, Devil's Rejects, and a slew of other horror movies. Also, Chris Sarandon is joining. Chris was the vampire in the movie Fright Night. He was also Prince Humperdinck in The Princess Bride and the voice of Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas. For more information and to get tickets, go check out the website, CrypticonMinneapolis.com. Again, that's CrypticonMinneapolis.com. Tim and I will be out there. Love to meet you, say hi, shake hands. So I hope that you will stop by the booth and talk to us while we're there. Also remember that this weekend, right now, the Edge Life Expo is going on, and I hope that you'll check it out. There's some special things going on also with the, I believe it is Sunny Dawn Johnson, who's doing a Connect with Your Angels on Monday, November 10th. For information, go check out edgelife.net for tickets. Again, that's edgelife.net/tickets. to get information on that. We're going to go back now to Nancy. And Nancy, tell us a little bit about the event that you guys are holding, and you were kind enough to invite me to, that's taking place on November 21st and 22nd.
The event consists of basically the investigation of the Seven Sisters Inn in Ocala. It's being held November 21st and 22nd of 2008, this month. Tickets are $149 per night. They do have some rooms available at Seven Sisters still. In order to obtain those rooms, it's separate from our event. So you would have to go on their website, which is sevensistersin.com. And then we have our event website, which is sevensistershaunt.com.
Right, and spell it out, 7, S-E-V-E-N, sisters, S-I-S-T-E-R-S, haunt, HAUNT.com for all the information. You've got Patrick Burns, the paranormal investigator from Haunting Evidence on True TV, Kristen Gartland from Ghost Hunters. You've got Rob Demarest from Ghost Hunters International just added, and I'll be out there as well hanging out. Are you going to have any talks during the day or anything going on for the people?
No, basically, during the day, we're going to allow people who are staying on the property to familiarize themselves with the rooms.
Sure.
And we'll be setting up our equipment because the way we do our actual events is we are interactive. We show people how we investigate as a team and what leads us to our conclusions with our evidence. Basically, we'll show them the software that we use for our audio. We'll show them the type of equipment we use for camera setup, as well as have those cameras up and going throughout the night so people can dump into, we call them depots, different areas we set aside to monitor. They're safe zones, basically, where people can actually sit in and watch what's going on. And if something occurs, they're welcome to come back to those areas and see what we've actually concluded from what we've gotten.
Very cool.
Yep.
Well, and I'll make a mention, too, if you're interested, Nancy or Brent, I'll be happy to do, for the beginners as well, I do a little talk on the common sense approach to ghost hunting and evidence review. If you guys need me, I'll be happy to talk to people for you guys at the event as well.
We would love it.
Great.
There's nothing like having somebody refresh people on the common sense of what you're doing.
Right.
And not losing perspective.
Yep.
Of what's going on.
Well, I'll be there if you're interested. Like I said, I'd be happy to throw that in. So make a little bit more bang for the buck while we're out there.
Absolutely, Dave. Whatever, like I said, you're such an incredible talker and speaker. You're magnetic. And
did you hear that, Tim? I'm magnetic. He's rolling his eyes at you, Nancy.
You really are.
Wow.
You capture people's attention. So that's what we need. And
we're going to bring you back every week just to kiss my ass because I need that a little bit more often. Can we arrange that, Nancy? As long as the lovely Summer shows up and brings me a case of Yoo-Hoo, I'll be happy.
Lovely Summer has had her experiences at that end.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. I should have thought about bringing her in as well and talking to her. But let's go now. We just listened to some EVPs that Brent acquired. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about some of these ways. I want to start off with this one because I just love the name of it. Bottom Touching is the name of the EVP.
That is a summer EVP.
Excellent.
That occurred at the last smaller event that we had at the end, where we had approximately 22 people that night that were investigating the two homes. It was very comfortable. The beauty of it was is that these homes, because they're Victoria era in style, you can be in one area of the house and not know there is anybody else in that house.
Okay.
Summer was one of the few. There were only 3 people at that point in the International or the Rhino house, the Purple house. They were in the back stairwell, and it was 3 females. As she was coming down the stairwell, she felt a very electrical sensation around her. And for lack of a better word, something touched her bottom. She's kind of like me in that way when something occurs, we're the first one to belt it out.
Right.
And she's like, oh, something touched my bottom.
Okay.
And she addressed it, and there's a response at the end of her address that sounds like, I liked that. And it's a male voice.
Well, I've met Summer, and I can attest that would probably be a nice touch.
There were no men in that house at all.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and fire that one off, Tim.
He touched my bottom. Oh, did he?
Ooh, play that back, Tim. Let me hear that again.
He touched my bottom. Oh, did he?
Yes, I liked it. Yeah, that's what it sounds like when I kick my volume way up. That's, but to me, it sounds like a female voice.
It could be. Like I said, we kind of thought it was a deeper voice than normal. It almost sounds like me. I have a deep voice for a female.
Well, I hear what sounds like somebody else talking in the background, but then the voice that says, I kind of liked it, or whatever, it sounds like a female voice to me. I don't know.
I know, but I'll tell you what, it definitely took Summer back. Nothing like that was said in the stairwell. In fact, the two girls that were with her.
Maybe I can get her. Maybe we can recreate the scene when we do the deal.
Good luck getting her back in that stairwell.
Damn it! All right.
No.
Let's see. The next one we have here says child.
That is it was caught in the flip-flop room, as we refer to it.
The flip-flop room. Excellent.
It is a very brief clip that I cut out. I wish I had included the rest of it, but all you hear is something go, shh, In the back, no, is that the child one?
Oh, no, I have the Osh, and then I have one that says child. So
Okay,
why don't we play the Osh one since you just explained that one, and we'll play that.
Yeah, play the Osh one, because that one was really, that creeped me out.
All right.
I was in that room, so I know nothing of that sort was said.
Is that you that touches everybody with you?
Yeah, you can definitely hear that. Go ahead and play it one more time, Tim.
Is that you that touches everybody with you?
What was the question you were asking?
I was asking if there was more than one present. It was a question that we actually had at the time equipment in the room with us, and when I kept mentioning basically in plural, the equipment would light up. So I basically stated the question: is there more than one person or energy in this room with us? And there were only two people in that room at that time, myself and Jennifer, one of my investigators. And that was what we got when we played back.
All right, well, let's hear this other one that says child. What is this EVP that we're about to hear?
The child one, I'm trying to remember which one it was. I had three that were of a child. I think this was the clearest one.
Okay.
Where, again, there were several of us in the room, and you can hear a child in the background. There were no children at the end. There are rarely children at the end.
All right, go ahead and play that one for us, Tim.
Upstairs. What's wrong? Did you hear that back here?
I heard, it sounds like, did you hear that? And it sounds like something's in the background. Is that what you're hearing? We'll try that one more time, Tim.
Upstairs. What's wrong? Did you hear that back here?
Yeah, you can hear like a in the background. Interesting.
It's something that that particular house, the Scott house, is where Jay saw the dark image at the top of the stairs. He felt it was at about 4 foot in level. And we've seen that shadow also in that house. We can't explain where it comes from. And it's always, I think it's almost residual. It always comes at the same time.
Sure.
And it's about 4 feet in a level. And it will black out completely anything that's in front of you in your line of sight. Okay. So it's a little disconcerting at times, but...
Well, we have one more EVP we're going to play in a minute when we come back from commercial break. So stay with us. And again, if you're interested in joining us, it's my birthday. Come on out and hang out with me at my birthday in Ocala, Florida. We're going to be at the Seven Sisters Inn. There are still rooms available, you said, correct?
Correct.
So people can go to sevensistersinn.com to see if they can get rooms. If they're interested in tickets to go do the ghost hunt with Patrick Burns, Kristen Gartland, myself, and Rob Demarest from Ghost Hunters International, you can go to sevensistershaunt.com. Again, spell it out, sevensistershaunt.com. We'll be back with more with Nancy. Welcome back to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. Appreciate you spending some time with us here this evening. It's great to have you share every weekend with us. We're here every Saturday and Sunday from 9 to midnight. Remember, if you miss any part of our show, you can always check out our website, and there you can download off the podcast all of our old shows. You can check them all the way going back to the August 24th show, our first one. If you want to go back in our archives even further and hear some of the older shows, go to darknessradio.com, click on the archives tab, and there you'll find our shows for the last 3 years that we had up, going all the way back, and a lot of great interviews with everybody from Dan Aykroyd to the Ghost Hunters to John Oliver, Patrick Burns, just about every TV show I think we've covered out in the paranormal field, right, Tim?
Absolutely, except for the Twilight Zone.
Yes, and Rod Serling just won't return our phone calls from the dead.
Maybe we can get an EVP or channel him or something.
Exactly, no doubt. All right, well, we're going to get back into tonight's event and talking to Nancy Planetta from Espirit and Brent Fair. And Nancy, too, tell us real quickly, you guys are doing TAPSCon 2009. That's coming up.
Correct, at the Bellevue Biltmore. That will be held May 15th through the 17th, basically encompassing the same as the first TAPCon, which is pretty much every name in the paranormal who has a distinctive interest. The reason we do TAPSCon is to give the general public, as well as the different teams that are out there, a basic chance to meet and greet with everybody they always hear about, see, or learn from on the paranormal radio shows.
And they can go to tapscon.com, correct?
Correct.
All right, now let's do this next EVP. It's called Female Answers. Let's play it, and then we'll have you tell us what happened with it real quick. Go ahead, Tim.
No problem.
Okay. Are you happy here? Or are you lonely?
Now, is she kind of talking while you're talking throughout that EVP?
Speaking above one of my investigators. This is actually I use this as a sample EVP now with my team as to why we wait in between questions.
Right.
I have a format that I run with my team. I call it EVP Road Rules.
Okay.
And one of the road rules is that you wait a distinctive minute to 3 minutes between questions before you voice another one, and you raise your hand when you want to ask a question so there's no interference through whispering. One of my team members wasn't paying attention to me. She heard me ask the question and decided to jump in within 10 seconds of my question and continue with the question. And as you can hear in the background, there's a female voice.
Right.
That should not be there. That's speaking above her. And I'm actually having you play that one for two reasons. One, because you can hear a distinctive third voice in that room.
Right.
There were only two of us there. And number two, to show the importance of following different rules when you're doing an EVP session, because that would have been a good catch had it been left for the minute to minute and a half.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good tip for people. Try that out. I know some people, some of them say ask a question, give 15 to 30 seconds response, and then move on to the next one. But you like to say give it a minute to 3 minutes?
A minute, depending. I mean, because then there's no question as to whispering, as to movement, as to time lapse. We can't always expect them to be on our time variance. That's kind of my reaction when people talk about it, because I'm like, a lot of times we'll knock, and we don't get an immediate response. It takes a little bit to get a response back. I said, going off the theory of it being energy, sometimes they may have to take a little time to gather the energy to respond. Basically, if you leave a minute, that gives enough time for it to not be questionable. That is definitely something that's there. We pause for a certain amount of time where there's absolute silence, so I know it's not my team. Good
plan. Now, let me ask you some more about this, too. Now, we were talking about TAPSCon. TAPSCon, can you tell us who's going to be out there at TAPSCon this year?
Jay Grant, Kristen Gartland, Steve Gonzalez, Dave Tango, Chris Williams, we are working with also, Patrick Burns, John Zaffis, yourself, and whoever you decide to bring with your radio team. The TAPS Family Radio team will also be there. Right now, we're still working on, I believe we have Ms. Guiley, I can't remember her full name.
Rosemary Ellen Guiley?
Mary Ellen Guiley, yes. And also April Slaughter. So it's turning out to be basically, the GHI crew, Dustin, Rob, Barry Fitzgerald is also on board. Syrian O'Keefe from Most Haunted has expressed an interest in returning. So it's going to be quite the bang.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I know the last TAPSCon was fantastic, and a lot of people really had a great time out at that and had a chance. Now, is there going to be ghost hunting and things involved as well?
Yes. In fact, we have not only the hunts that will be part of the VIP package on Saturday and Sunday, but we've also set up a separate event on Thursday night because we had the hotel an extra evening where we're doing a limited amount of people, basically limiting it to 100-room reservations within the hotel and opening up the 3 floors above that first floor level to independent ghost hunting.
Great.
So you don't have the traffic of the 500 to 600 people over the weekend. And you've been in that hotel, you know how large it is, Dave. So 100 to 200 people can get lost very easily in that place. So we figured it would be a way to basically give people that experience without having it being overloading.
Right.
And let them really explore.
Yeah, I know when we got into the one part of the building, we had some really interesting stuff with some sounds, footsteps walking around us while we were just sitting there, cold spots that would just blow up on you unexpectedly. So there was some definite weird stuff that was going on. So it was a great hotel. It's a beautiful hotel, too. So it was nice to be there, and just you're in there. It's nice and historic look to it, and just a gorgeous place to be. But again, and then you have different packages available at TAPSCon, right?
We actually, we're doing the VIP packages for the weekend stay. Like I said, we have the Thursday night, which is an Odyssey Star event. It's our separate company, that's a separate package. And then we have basically admit ones for the weekends. We've actually cut down on what we did last year. We felt it was too confusing to people and very confusing to try to have the transportation on the way we needed it on between the hotels that we were using. So we've limited it to booking just the rooms at the hotel, and basically they're offering different lectures within the package. Some of the lectures are coming with the package when you buy it. You have to read the the webpage.
Right.
And I always tell people that, always read first. There will be inclusive lectures, and then there will be lectures that are separate. So make sure that you're getting the lectures that you want when you're purchasing. And I believe Jay and Grant is a separate lecture.
Okay.
So and then we've got, of course, you've stepped up to volunteer lecture, and we always love hearing you lecture.
Yeah.
We also have a guy who heads up I'm calling him a guy. I'm actually related to him. He heads up the psychology department at a Pacifica University in California, and his specialty is dream psychology.
Oh, great.
And he's going to be doing a lecture basically explaining the background into dream psychology and why people dream the way they do. And we both know that leads into the paranormal very much.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we've had a lot of experiences. As a matter of fact, we're trying to work up here in another couple of weeks. I think we might be doing some more dream interpretation shows where we talk about, what's going on in the dream world for people as well.
Yep, that's actually one of my specialties, and it's probably because of my antecedents. As I said, he actually heads up the psychology department out there, and he and I speak all the time regarding the unconscious, your subconscious, your dreams, and what they mean.
Very cool. And again, let's just make a last mention here before we have to let you go. For people that are interested in attending the Seven Sisters Inn event, it takes place on November 21st and 22nd in Ocala, Florida. For event information, you can go to sevensistershaunt.com. Again, that's sevensistershaunt.com. And you've got Patrick Burns from Haunting Evidence, Kristen Gartland from Ghost Hunters, Rob Demarest from Ghost Hunters International. I'll be out there joining as well. Just going to be a good time, get a chance to learn a little bit about it, and then get out there and actually do some live one-on-one ghost hunting, correct?
Correct. And not only that, but you're going to have 3 different TAPS family teams out there.
Great.
Because the Florida teams are kind of congregating.
Sure.
And getting in there, which is always a good thing. It's always good to be in there with experienced people. Number one, it keeps the fear levels down. And number 2, it helps explain things as they're happening. Now,
for our Florida listeners, we have about a minute left. How can they get in touch with your team if they're having hauntings or problems or they want you guys to investigate?
Very simply, my website is http://Espirit, SSPIRIT, Florida, FLORIDA.com.
Okay, and they can get all the information on your team there?
Correct.
Great. Well, Nancy,
we have a forum site. That's where I would recommend to go because that's where you see the team interacting all the time.
Good. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate hearing it and hearing your EVPs and your stories.
No problem, Dave.
Thank you, and thank you to Brent as well. Stay tuned, guys. We got more coming up. We're going to have skeptic Joe Nickel joining us in the next hour. We're going to be talking about the scientific approach to things like exorcism and paranormal investigations right here on Darkness Radio.